The mist clung low over the village of Eldervale, curling between the crooked houses like pale fingers. Garrick, a broad-shouldered blacksmith of 38 with soot-streaked hands, walked with deliberate steps toward the old forest path. Beside him, Ilara, a 32-year-old healer with keen green eyes, kept glancing at the tree line as if it whispered. Garrick said, "You've been staring at those woods since we left the forge. What is it you see, Ilara?" She shook her head, her voice tight. "Not see, feel. Like something old just woke up." He frowned, tightening his grip on the hammer tucked into his belt. "You're talking about the stories again." She met his gaze, her tone steady. "Stories don't leave footprints in the mud." His brow furrowed as they stepped into the forest's shadow, the light behind them swallowed by an unnatural gloom. Somewhere ahead, a crow cried out, its voice jagged as broken glass. Garrick muttered, "Then we'd better find it before it finds us." The deeper they went, the heavier the air became, thick with the scent of damp earth and rot. Ilara glanced over her shoulder once, then again, her voice low. "We're being followed." Garrick didn't turn. "I know." She frowned. "No. And you're not going to do anything," he said. "Not until I know what it is." The path twisted ahead like a snake, vanishing into shadow. Somewhere, branches snapped under unseen feet. Garrick's knuckles whitened on his hammer's grip. "Stay close." She drew her cloak tighter, her eyes darting from tree to tree. A clearing opened suddenly, moonlight spilling through torn clouds. In the center lay an ancient stump, its surface blackened and scarred. Ilara whispered, "The stories say this is where it happened." Garrick's voice was grim. "Where what happened?" She glanced at him. "Where the axe took its first soul." The silence pressed against them, broken only by the whisper of wind. Garrick stepped forward, studying the grooves in the wood. "These aren't just scars. They're marks." The wind shifted, carrying with it a faint metallic tang. Ilara's stomach turned. "Blood," she whispered. Garrick crouched beside the stump, tracing a groove with his finger. "Fresh." Huh. She shook her head in disbelief. "That's not possible. This place has been abandoned for decades." A twig snapped nearby. Garrick rose slowly, his eyes scanning the darkness. "Then tell me who's out there." From the tree line, a shadow shifted, too tall, too still to be an animal. Garrick's voice dropped to a growl. "We're not alone." Ilara stepped closer to him, her hand brushing the hilt of the dagger at her waist. "Then we'd better decide if we're running or fighting." The shadow took a slow step forward, the shape of an axe glinting faintly in the moonlight. Garrick's grip tightened. "Looks like it's decided for us." The figure stood motionless at the edge of the trees, the glint of the axe head like a shard of frozen moonlight. Garrick's voice was a whisper, but carried steel. "Ilara, step behind me." She didn't move, her eyes fixed on the shape. "That's not just a man." Garrick's jaw clenched. "Whatever it is, it's coming." The figure took another slow step, and the mist seemed to draw toward it like breath into lungs. Ilara's hand tightened around her dagger hilt, the leather creaking. "I can feel it in my chest. It's pulling." Garrick's eyes never left the figure. "Then you're going to have to fight that pull." A sudden gust stirred the branches above, scattering droplets across their faces like cold sweat. The figure stopped, head tilting slightly, as if listening. Garrick took a step forward, hammer in hand. "You wanted answers. We may be about to get them." The figure moved again, and Garrick finally saw its face, or what was left of it. Hollow sockets, skin stretched thin over bone, and a faint red glow where eyes should be. Ilara's voice broke. "That's impossible." Garrick said, "Not impossible, cursed." The figure raised the axe slowly, the metal catching pale light. Garrick's heartbeat thundered in his ears, each thud matching the sway of the weapon. Ilara whispered, "That weapon, it's older than the stump." Garrick didn't look back. And hungrier. The figure's lips peeled into a rictus grin, teeth too many and too sharp for any human mouth. Garrick growled. Stay behind me no matter what. Alara's breath quickened. And if it comes for me, Garrick said, then I'll be in its way before it takes another step. The first swing came without warning, a blur of rusted steel through the cold air. Garrick blocked with his hammer, the clang echoing like a church bell. Sparks flew into the mist, briefly lighting the figure's deathly grin. Alara darted sideways, her cloak snapping in the wind. Garrick! She cried as another blow came. Garrick grunted with the force, boots digging into the sodden earth. It's strong, he spat, but not fast enough. Alara hurled a small pouch toward the ground, herbs spilling and igniting in green flame. The figure paused, axe twitching in its hands. Garrick took the chance to strike its side, but the blow only made it stagger. Alara's voice was sharp. It's not going to die by your hammer. Garrick snarled. Then tell me what will. Alara's eyes locked on the axe, the faint red veins pulsing along its handle. It's the weapon. Destroy it, and maybe we break the curse. Garrick swung again, aiming for the haft, but the figure twisted unnaturally, its spine bending in ways no humans should. The axe came down again, grazing Garrick's shoulder and drawing blood. He hissed through his teeth. Alara stepped forward, chanting under her breath, her voice low and rhythmic. The air shimmered faintly around her. The figure turned its head toward her, a sound like stone grinding escaping its mouth. Garrick roared, charging to intercept, his hammer arcing toward the cursed weapon. If you're right, he grunted, this ends now. The hammer struck the haft with a sound like splitting bone. A shockwave rippled through the clearing, the mist flaring outward in a ring. The figure shrieked, a sound piercing and inhuman. Alara stumbled back, clutching her ears. The axe's red veins flared once, then began to dim. Garrick stood panting, his knuckles white, the hammer trembling in his grip. Tell me it's over, he rasped. Alara's voice was weak. If it was, it wouldn't still be standing. Slowly, the figure straightened, axe still in its grasp, though now cracks split the wood and metal. Garrick's eyes narrowed. Then we finish this. The forest seemed to hold its breath as the cursed figure advanced again, each step accompanied by the groan of old wood in the axe-fractured haft. Garrick's voice was low but urgent. Alara, the cracks aren't enough. She steadied herself, eyes darting over the clearing. Then we need to widen them. The figure lunged without warning, its movements jerking like a puppet on fraying strings. Garrick met the blow head-on, metal screaming against metal, sparks dying in the cold air before they touched the ground. Alara circled, muttering in a sharp-clipped rhythm, her hands tracing symbols in the air. The figure's head snapped toward her with unnerving speed. Garrick snarled, eyes on me, monster, swinging with brutal force. The undead thing staggered back a step, a rasping breath escaping its chest like steam from a broken pipe. Alara shouted, "Hold it steady!" Her tone was command, not request. Garrick gritted his teeth. Then make your move fast. Alara's chanting grew louder, each word echoing unnaturally in the clearing. Garrick could feel the air thicken, every breath dragging like honey. The figure roared, a sound that warped in pitch, half beast and half something far worse. Garrick bellowed back, hammer striking the haft again, deepening the cracks until dark dust leaked from them. Alara stepped closer, her eyes glowing faint silver. "One more strike," she yelled over the noise. Garrick shouted, "Then keep it from moving." She threw both hands forward, a burst of shimmering force slamming into the figure's chest, freezing it in place for a heartbeat. Garrick drove his hammer down in that moment, the impact ringing through his arms. The haft splintered further, but still held. He spat, "It's like breaking stone." Alara's voice was grim. "Then hit it until it's nothing but splinters." The figure's grin widened, bloodless lips stretching too far, as if mockery fueled it. Garrick's grip tightened until his knuckles ached. "It's smiling," he growled. Alara's jaw clenched. "Then it knows something we don't?" The cursed axe lifted again, faster this time, the fractured wood flexing but refusing to break. Garrick dodged left, the blade slicing through a tree trunk like it was paper. Splinters rained down, some sizzling as they touched the ground. Elara drew her dagger, its edge glinting with faint green runes. If you can't shatter it with strength, maybe I can cut it with this. Garrick frowned, still circling the monster. That's your last charm steel blade, Elara. She didn't look at him. Then I'll make the cut count. Elara lunged in as Garrick locked weapons with the figure, straining against its unnatural strength. The sound of grinding wood filled the air as she slid her blade along the haft, green light trailing in its wake. The figure let out a piercing screech, the red glow in its weapon flickering violently. Garrick yelled, "It's working!" She gritted her teeth, pushing the blade deeper into the crack until the metal began to hum. The undead thing jerked violently, flinging Garrick aside like a rag doll. He crashed into the earth, gasping. "Finish it, Elara." She twisted the blade with a sharp snap, and a web of fissures raced along the haft, glowing green before erupting into sparks. The haft gave way with a sound like breaking ice. The head of the axe clattered to the ground, bleeding an inky vapor that spread across the clearing. The undead figure howled, clutching at the air as if searching for the weapon. Garrick staggered to his feet, breathing hard. "Tell me that's the end." Elara wiped her dagger on her cloak. "No, that was just the leash." The figure's body shuddered, the red glow now seeping from cracks in its own skin. Garrick swore under his breath. "Then what the hell happens when the leash is gone?" Elara's gaze hardened. "We find out, and we make sure it doesn't walk away from this." The black vapor coiled upward like a living thing, twisting into jagged shapes before melting into the night air. Garrick took a step back, hammer still raised. "Elara, it's not dying." She narrowed her eyes. "It's transforming." The undead figure's head snapped toward them, its jaw splitting wider than human anatomy allowed. The chorus of whispers bled from its mouth, voices overlapping, some weeping, some laughing. Garrick's grip tightened. "That's more than one voice." Elara's voice was cold. "Those are its victims." The figure's body convulsed, ribs cracking outward as crimson light spilled through the openings. Garrick shifted his stance, bracing himself. "Then we're fighting all of them at once." Elara took a deep breath, her dagger still faintly glowing. "Then we make sure every last one of them stays down." The whispers became screams, and the clearing trembled. Roots tore from the ground as if recoiling from the thing at the center. Garrick barked, "It's warping the ground, don't get close." Elara stepped forward anyway, her cloak whipping around her in the wind. "If we stay back it spreads. I'm ending it here." The figure lunged, but its movement was wrong, fluid, serpentine, like bones rearranging beneath the skin. Garrick intercepted, hammer striking with a sickening crunch. "Stay behind me," he growled. "Not this time," Elara shot back, rolling beneath the swing of a jagged limb that once was an arm. Her dagger flashed, cutting a deep line in its side. The light inside it flared brighter, and it roared with a sound that could not belong to a single throat. Garrick muttered, "That's going to make it angrier." Elara's reply was ice. "Good. Wood." A shockwave burst outward from the creature, sending both of them sprawling. Garrick hit the ground hard, the taste of copper in his mouth. Elara skidded across wet leaves, her dagger sliding from her grip. "Elara!" Garrick roared, scrambling to his knees. The figure stalked toward her, each step leaving smoldering prints in the soil. She reached for her weapon, fingers brushing the hilt, just as the monster loomed overhead. Garrick sprinted, shoulder-checking the thing with enough force to stagger it a step. "On your feet," he barked. She grabbed the dagger and rolled to her side, coming up in a crouch. "Don't give it room to breathe," she said sharply. Garrick spat blood and smirked, despite himself. "Then, let's suffocate it." They both moved in unison, circling opposite sides. The monster's movements grew erratic, as though something inside it struggled for control. Garrick swung at its side, his hammer sinking deep into rotting flesh. A burst of black ichor sprayed, sizzling where it touched the ground. Elara darted in, carving glowing sigils into its chest. "Keep it off balance," she shouted. Garrick grunted, yanking his weapon free. "I'm trying, but it won't stay still." The creature lashed out with a whip-like limb, catching Garrick across the ribs. He staggered but kept his footing. Elara's runes flared brightly, and the monster recoiled with a guttural scream. Garrick gasped for breath. "You're hurting it." She met his eyes briefly, her voice low but fierce. "Then I'll carve until there's nothing left to scream." The sigils on its chest ignited like burning brands, the light pouring from its cracks now blinding. The monster writhed, clawing at itself, shrieks echoing like a chorus of the damned. Garrick shielded his eyes. "What's happening?" Elara's voice trembled, but held steady. "It's unraveling." The air grew hotter, steam rising from the ground. The thing dropped to its knees, hands digging into the soil, as if trying to anchor itself. Garrick took a cautious step forward. "Do we finish it now?" Elara hesitated, the glow from her dagger pulsing in time with her heartbeat. "If we strike now, we might end it, or unleash whatever it's holding." Garrick's jaw tightened. "Then we choose." Elara nodded once. "We end it." The light faded, replaced by an oppressive stillness. Garrick's breathing sounded too loud in the quiet. He scanned the tree line. "It's over?" Elara's grip tightened on her dagger. "No, it's waiting." A low rumble answered her, not from the monster, but from the earth itself. The ground beneath them cracked, a fissure glowing red in the moonlight. Garrick swore under his breath. "We didn't kill it, we woke it." The air tasted of iron and ash, and Elara could feel the weight of something rising beneath her boots. Garrick's voice was low, urgent. "When it comes through, we hit it before it finds its footing." She nodded, but didn't relax. "If it's what I think it is, it won't need footing." The rumble grew into a roar, and a shape began to tear free from the ground, a hulking silhouette drenched in molten light. The creature emerged fully, towering over them, its form a fusion of charred bone and molten metal. Garrick raised his hammer, muscles straining. "This thing's not undead. It's forged." Elara's eyes narrowed. "Forged in blood." The monster's eyes, two molten orbs, fixed on them with predatory intent. It spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "Your blood will temper me." Garrick spat on the ground. "Try it." The ground trembled as it took its first step forward, each footfall searing the soil. Elara shifted her stance, dagger glowing brighter than before. "We can't let it touch the axe." Garrick's gaze flicked to the weapon, embedded in its chest, still dripping blackened residue. "Then we rip it out." It moved faster than expected, closing the distance in a blur. Garrick barely brought his hammer up in time to block a downward strike from its molten arm. Sparks showered between them. Elara darted to the side, slicing at the exposed sinew between plates of scorched bone. The monster roared, backhanding her with enough force to send her rolling. Garrick shouted, "Elara!" She coughed but pushed herself up, wiping blood from her lip. "I'm fine, keep it busy." He slammed his hammer into its knee, the impact sending a tremor up his arms. "Move toward its chest." She sprinted forward, using the monster's leg as a ramp, driving her dagger toward the embedded axe. The blade hit home, sending a jolt of energy that lit the night in blinding white. The white light pulsed, forcing the creature to stagger back. Elara clung to its chest, her dagger wedged beside the axe. "Help me pull," she shouted. Garrick charged, leaping to grab the axe's handle. Together they heaved, their muscles burning with the effort. The creature's molten skin cracked, chunks falling away to reveal writhing shadows beneath. Garrick's teeth gritted. Almost there. The axe shifted slightly, and a wave of heat blasted them back. Elara hit the ground hard, her dagger skittering away. The monster seized Garrick by the arm, lifting him off his feet. "You bleed first," it growled. Garrick's voice was a snarl. "Not today." No. Elara scrambled to her feet, sprinting toward Garrick. she dove, slashing through the monster's arm with a desperate strike. The limb fell away, Garrick crashing to the ground with a grunt. The axe clattered free from its chest, hitting the earth with a hiss. Both of them stared at it, the weapon radiating heat and a faint crimson mist. Garrick reached for it, but Alara's voice cut through. "Don't touch it." He froze, eyes still fixed on it. "If we leave it, someone else will." She stepped closer, expression grim. "Then we make sure no one can." The monster, now missing an arm, howled in agony, but began to lunge again. Garrick's gaze hardened. "Then let's end this, together." The forest clearing burned with an eerie glow, as the molten giant staggered forward, still howling in rage. Alara stepped over the axe, planting herself between it and the creature. "You'll have to walk through me," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Garrick rose beside her, gripping his hammer tighter. "We end it here, no more running." The monster's molten eyes narrowed, and steam hissed from its cracked skin. "You think you can destroy me? I am the curse." Alara's lips curled into a cold smile. "Then it's time to break you." Garrick's knuckles whitened. "On my mark. Hit low, I'll take the head." The air was thick with heat, each breath scorching their lungs, but neither moved back. The forest seemed to hold its breath as predator and prey measured one another. The monster lunged first, molten claws raking the air. Alara rolled under its arm, slicing deep into the joint. The creature roared, swinging wildly, but Garrick slammed his hammer into its leg, forcing it down on one knee. "Now!" he shouted. Alara sprinted up its bent limb, leaping toward its neck. Her blade flashed, cutting deep into the seam where molten metal met bone. The smell of scorched flesh and iron filled the air. The monster bucked violently, trying to throw her off. Garrick roared, ramming the hammer into its jaw with bone-shattering force. "Stay down." Sparks showered the ground as its head snapped to the side, a deep crack spreading through its skull. Alara landed beside him, breathing hard. "It's not enough. We need the axe." The axe lay where it had fallen, its crimson mist curling upward like grasping fingers. Alara glanced at Garrick. "You touch it, it'll take you." His jaw tightened. "Then, it'll take me after it takes this thing's head." She stepped forward, voice low and urgent. "Don't be stupid. We destroy it, together." The monster, still reeling, reached toward them with its remaining arm. Garrick kicked the axe toward Alara. "Then you do it." She hesitated, feeling the heat radiate through her boots, but bent to lift it. The moment her fingers closed around the handle, her vision blurred, whispers flooding her mind. Garrick's voice snapped her back. "Alara." She tightened her grip, fighting the pull. "I've got it. Let's finish this." The axe felt impossibly heavy, yet it moved as if drawn by instinct. Alara swung in a wide arc, severing the monster's remaining arm in a single stroke. It screamed, a sound that shook the ground. Garrick charged, ramming the hammer into its cracked chest, forcing it back. "Now, Alara." She dashed forward, leaping onto its torso and driving the axe deep into the glowing fissure in its skull. A blinding eruption of light tore through the clearing, searing the air. The creature convulsed, its body fracturing into shards of molten metal and black shadow. Garrick shielded his eyes, yelling over the roar. "Don't let go." Her voice was a growl. "I'm not done yet." The light faded, and silence crashed down. The giant's body lay shattered, molten fragments cooling in the dirt. Alara knelt beside it, the axe still in her hands. Garrick approached slowly, eyes locked on the weapon. "Is it over?" She didn't answer at first, her gaze fixed on the faint pulse still glowing along the blade. "For now," she said finally, her tone heavy. Garrick exhaled, lowering his hammer. "Then we bury it." She shook her head. "No, we take it far from here. This curse doesn't die, it waits." He looked at her, a flicker of unease in his eyes. "Then we'd better make sure it waits forever." They turned toward the darkened forest, the weight of what they carried heavier than the weapon itself. Dawn bled slowly over the treetops, staining the mist a faint crimson. Elara and Garrick trudged along the narrow ridge path, the axe wrapped in dark cloth and lashed to Elara's back. Neither spoke for some time, their breath forming pale clouds in the cold morning air. Finally, Garrick broke the silence. Every step feels like it's watching us. Elara's voice was low. It is. It's listening too. He glanced at her, frowning. Then maybe we should stop talking. She gave a thin smile. Silence won't hide us from something that lives in our blood. The ridge narrowed, and the valley below was nothing but shadow. Garrick muttered, "Feels like we're walking into its mouth." Elara's eyes stayed on the path. "That's exactly where we have to go." The ridge opened into a barren plateau where no grass grew, only cracked stone, etched with runes. Garrick slowed, scanning the carvings. These aren't just warnings, they're instructions. Elara crouched to trace one with her fingers. They're old, older than the curse. Her gaze moved to a massive stone arch at the far edge, half collapsed, but still standing. "That's where we end it." Garrick grunted. "Looks more like where it ends us." She straightened, meeting his eyes. "You want to run now? Go ahead. But I'm not carrying this thing any further than I have to." His jaw tightened. "Then we do it here." The wind carried a low hum, almost like a voice whispering from the stones themselves. Elara murmured, "It's awake." Elara knelt before the arch, unwrapping the axe slowly. The crimson mist poured out, curling around her hands like living smoke. Garrick stepped back, instinctively gripping his hammer. "It's stronger here," he said through clenched teeth. Elara nodded. "Because it knows its home." She set the axe on the stone altar at the base of the arch. The runes lit up faintly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. The mist swirled faster, forming shapes that almost looked like faces. Garrick's voice was tense. "Tell me you've got a plan." She locked eyes with him. "We let it in." His eyes widened. "That's not a plan. That's suicide." Her voice didn't waver. "It's the only way to bind it." The mist lunged toward Elara, enveloping her in a crimson shroud. Her back arched, eyes going black as the curse's voice filled the air. "You are mine." Garrick shouted over the wind, "Fight it, Elara." She screamed, the sound raw and unbroken, before forcing words through clenched teeth. "You will sleep." The runes blazed bright, the arch vibrating as if it would collapse. Garrick rushed forward, slamming his hammer into the altar to crack it open. The mist writhed, screeching, as Elara drove the axe into the split stone. A thunderclap shook the plateau, and the mist was sucked into the fracture, vanishing into darkness. Elara collapsed, the axe dissolving into dust in her hands. Silence fell, broken only by the faint hiss of wind through the ruins. Garrick knelt beside Elara, touching her shoulder. "Elara, say something." She stirred, opening her eyes, now clear and unshadowed. "It's gone." He exhaled hard, leaning back on his heels. "You scared the hell out of me." She gave a weak smile. "You've always been easy to scare." His laugh was low and tired. "Come on. Let's get out of here before something decides to prove us wrong." They rose, the dawn light spilling over the plateau. Behind them, the arch crumbled to dust, leaving only the cracked altar, and the knowledge that the curse might one day wake again.